Here we're talking about the time lags for fiscal and monetary policy, should be for both. And these are our stabilization policies. These are designed to smooth out fluctuations in output and employment, keep prices as stable as possible. Again, one of our macroeconomic goals is nice steady growth in GDP. Avoid the sharp changes, ups and downs. So time lags are the delays in the economy's response to the stabilization policies. First is a recognition lag. It takes time to discover we're in trouble because the data is old. So right now, the data we have is 3 months old as best. And so if you're in a recession right now, you may not know it until 3 months later. And that's why the Great Recession started in December of 2007, and we didn't realize we're in trouble until about March. So it takes time to discover we're in trouble, and it's the same for both monetary and fiscal policy. So there's no difference there. Implementation lag, this is how long it takes to get a policy into effect, to start doing things. And so fiscal policy has a big trouble because it's constrained by the political system. You need the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the President to work together to pass and implement spending and tax bills. So this could be very fast, it could be very slow, it cannot happen at all. So for example, the CARES Act that was in the spring of 2020 took less than a month to create and pass the bill. And this was the biggest spending bill ever. So the 2008 bill from President Obama was $800 billion. We thought that was huge. This was $2,000 trillion. This provided extra unemployment benefits, to self-employed people for the first time, people in the gig economy. It gave out the $1,200 per person payment. And so a lot of money was poured into the economy. It gave money to small businesses to keep their employees employed. So a huge spending bill, and it was amazing. I mean, I never seen Congress work so fast. So this took from start to finish less than a month, and money was pouring into the economy, April. And then another example would be the HEROES Act, because a lot of these things in the CARES Act ended in July of 2020, or if they went on, they would end at the end of the year. And the HEROES Act was designed to extend this hope for the economy, extend extra unemployment benefits, give households more payments, expand money to small businesses to keep people employed. So this is passed by Congress, a $3 trillion act in May, and it's set there. The Republicans in the Senate did not want to deal with this, so the House, which was controlled by the Democrats, they wanted to put more money in the economy. The Republicans, they said no. They actually went on a vacation in the summer. They came back in September. Negotiations went on. Nothing happened. So this lecture is being done in the end of November, and they're still not talking to each other about trying to pass another stimulus bill. So right now, fiscal policy is not being used at all. Monetary policy is actually easier to implement because it's not politics. Politics has hopefully been taken out of monetary policy. So monetary policy in terms of the required observed ratio, discount rate, and open market operations is controlled by the Board of Governors and the Federal Open Market Committee, which remember has 7 Board of Governor members on it, all 7, and then you would have 5 Federal Reserve District Bank presidents on it as well. So a grand total of 12 people. And these are people who are not elected, they're not politicians, they're either financial people, economists, and therefore hopefully they keep politics out of it. Unfortunately, the current administration seems to be changing that. President Trump nominated a person called Judy Shelton, who is very controversial to the board. She actually is politically motivated. She wants to go back to the gold standard, which again will not work. We don't have enough gold to back all the money out there, and that would pretty much eliminate monetary policy. And she also doesn't believe the Federal Reserve should even exist. And then Steven Mnuchin, who's the Treasury Secretary, asked the Fed to return money by December of 2020, this year, to the Treasury that Congress authorized for small business loans. And it was unclear whether these loans could continue into the next year. There's nothing in the bill that said they couldn't. Steven Mnuchin, after the election when Trump lost, seems to want to pull money back out. He says that Congress intended the money should all be lent by the end of the year. If not, then return to the Treasury. This money came from the Treasury to the Federal Reserve, and so he's pulling the money out for political reasons. It seems that the current administration wants to have the economy go down into recession again for incoming President Biden. I hate to say that, but that's what the evidence points to. So normally monetary policy can be implemented pretty fast, but nowadays, maybe with politics, who knows? But so far, the Federal Reserve seems to be okay in terms of how it functions. And then the last lag is the response lag. And this is the time it takes for the economy to adjust to new conditions after a new policy is implemented. And this is how long it takes for the policy to affect the economy. And so fiscal policy is actually faster than monetary policy. It can be quite strong because here money is put in directly into the economy. So the government can spend money directly. They can also cut taxes, which is a little bit slower because and a little bit weaker because, again, people may not spend those tax cuts. But the government spends money on new highway construction, on new schools, on teachers. That money gets put into the economy directly, and it goes to the multiplier process. So it takes about a year for the change in taxes to go into effect. Spending probably has a little bit faster than taxes. Monetary policy can be implemented pretty fast, but how long it takes for interest rates to affect everyone is a different story. So this might be a little bit slower than fiscal policy because it takes time for people to come in and borrow the money. And then also the problem is that people may not want to borrow the money. So the Federal Reserve definitely can cut rates, but the one thing the Federal Reserve cannot do is force people to borrow money. So the response lag for monetary policy might be slower, and it could be weaker if, again, people do not borrow that money. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 14.